can. I appreciate you coming and hanging out all the way from Puerto Rico. I'm so jealous each time I think about that, Victor, about where you're at every day, most of your life. If I can only be like you one day when I grow up, right? So, Victor, I appreciate you once again hanging out with us today. The topic today is hosted by the OSHA Initiative, Safety and Health, I believe it's called, correct, Victor?
Yes, safe and sound.
Yeah, safe and sound, of
Seguro
course.
y sano.
Seguro y sano, right? Something dear to, I think, both of our hearts as we're in the journey of creating career paths through the apprenticeship initiative. I tell everyone you kind of just fell out of the sky for me. Right before Youth Apprenticeship Week here a few months ago, and we really connected, like they say, the old school networking on the chat. You said, "Hey, this is what I offer. I offer think you said Spanish training or something like that that caught my eye because up until that point, I, Victor, thought I was the only one out in this world trying to um, let me have someone come in, trying to get the world to um, listen the importance of teaching any kind of training in a dual language because it's so necessary to do so, right? And so I think we went back and forth, chit-chatting, like, hey, I do that too. And then I sent my email, and then the next day, I think you followed up with an email and you shared your journey with me, and I'm thrilled because you're once so skilled, you have your footprint all over the workforce, and you are older than I am. And, culturally, I must respect you. I can't yell at you. I can't, I have to listen to you. So in reality, Victor, you are becoming a mentor to me as well undercover. So I'll let you go ahead, Victor. Hi, Freddie. Thank you for joining. If you want to open up your camera, you can. If not, we get it. If you have a question, please open your mic. We'll be more than happy to address it as we go. So, Victor, set the stage. Who are you? Tell us a little bit about this guy here. Who are you? Tell us a little bit about you.
Well, thank you for your kind words. I remember the first time we met as well at the apprenticeship conference, and I remember seeing your initial you were initially listed as an apprenticeship ambassador, and that's because AHA and AMBE were both in the A category, so that helped out identifying you pretty quick. And much like yourself, I thought I was the only one out here doing this work myself, and working with the National Association of Hispanic Colleges and Universities. I wasn't getting the feedback that I was expecting. But as time goes on, you start picking up momentum and you realize that there are other national organizations that are out there trying to do exactly what we're trying to do. It's just a matter of reaching out and connecting and trying to amplify our voices. And so, really, that's what I see our relationship as. We're trying to amplify our voices for dual language technical education, especially for incumbent workers.
Right.
And so, go
And
ahead.
you got one of the biggest cheerleaders out here that's willing just to spread the love around. Go ahead, Victor. I didn't mean to
Right,
interrupt.
right. It's good. So my background, I'm retired engine designer for Cummins Incorporated. Cummins is a global engine manufacturer. I had the opportunity to enter in the company, start out in manufacturing at a manufacturing plant, work my way up to a leadership position within manufacturing. I was a team leader. And then I went into research and engineering, did two apprenticeships with the corporation, became their corporate bilingual training instructor, had an opportunity to travel to different countries, working on their global apprenticeship program. And then when I retired, I continued working with Ivy Tech, Indiana's community college system, which I started very early in my career after I was a journeyman. So those things combined, I started teaching for the Manufacturing Skills Standards Council. After numerous years, they awarded me a national award of Instructor of the Year. After that, I was recruited by the Labor Institute for Training out of Indianapolis, and that's where we petitioned for an H-1B federal grant to take the Manufacturing Skills Standards program from English to Spanish. It was a $3.4 million grant, I believe. I was deputy director for the Labor Institute for Training and the lead instructor for that bilingual training program. That lasted about 4 years. We finished that program. We trained approximately 500 limited English speakers in the state of Indiana. And then the program finished, and I moved on and created AMBE, Advanced Manufacturing Bilingual Educators, for the sole purpose of expanding the federal government's translation of the Manufacturing Skills Standards Council. I was working with them as a master instructor for both English and Spanish. And so this is my passion. This is what I love to do. I'm retired, but I want to continue working. I want to continue studying. Lifelong learning has always been my passion. And so connecting with you, Iliana, has been very good. I think we can together really promote dual language technical education, especially for the incumbent workers, the Latinos who are out there working now.
I agree, Fred. I mean, sorry, I agree, Victor. I think that, your passion, your background speaks for itself, right? Everyone, if you're on here, hopefully you follow me, a little bit background about AHA. We're in the journey 100% feet on the ground, running, pounding the paves with our gloves on opening workforce opportunity for everyone, regardless of cultural, finances, background, education, where you come from. If you need it, we feel like the government has opened us those opportunities. And I'm passionate about sharing how the apprenticeship model works. But on top of that, I've been in the trenches so long that I can navigate you to who you need to talk to if we can't help you. And then we work with our companies where we help them develop educational training, 10 weeks, 1 week, 3 weeks, an hour, 3 hour training, whatever they need in order to be compliant with the federal guidelines, right? Because we all know DOL has that big diversity compliant umbrella there. And, sometimes once in a while, they'll come knocking on your door and you don't want to be, I don't want to see any organization be caught off guard for something that they could have corrected simply by just addressing it, right? And I think that if you don't know, or if you know and you haven't had a solution to address those problems, especially in the training world, and now here we are, two of us saying, hey, guess what? We now have approved curriculum, right, Victor?
Yes.
Because your curriculum is being used in colleges around the US already. Government people have put their eyes on it. We have the stamp of approval. So for us to be able to work together and wrap around what I call our master soft skills training and be able to offer what you're offering in your manufacturing world, because there always should be a part of soft skill training. I will stand by me saying that because I don't know any position that doesn't require some kind of utilization of soft skills, right? And so us coming together, I believe it's a super force, like it's a win-win situation for our workforce, also for our employers and our employees that we know are quiet in nature. And so I think that's what draw me to just learn more about your journey, and let's start, Victor, share, the theme again and how we came about hosting this event. And then once you kind of share your story that I love, to hear your story, we can jump in and talk about a little bit of detail on some of the areas we focus on this training.
Sure. I am part of the OSHA training committee in the respects of we do OSHA 10 certifications in both English and Spanish. And so I received that email for the Safe and Sound, Seguro y Salvo week. And so this is the week for that. And I remember reaching out to you and saying, hey, let's do something together on this. And you just jumped at that opportunity. And so workplace safety is so important. And for me, especially when you look at the OSHA statistics, I think of OSHA as a hammer. They're the enforcement arm for workplace safety. And a hammer always looks for a nail, the nail being the non-compliant, things that are non-compliant in workplace safety. And so I always teach that to my students when I talk about compliance training. What do you need to do to make sure that you have a safe workplace? Um, and I think I mentioned a story to you many years ago when I was a team leader, and this is I was in my 20s, and I used to have my morning meetings where I would speak with my team, and we would talk about things that happen in third shift and what we need to do on first shift to make sure that the production run is going to be smooth with no hiccups. And any machines that needed to be maintained, we need to go ahead and do that. And I always ended my pep talk in the morning with, okay, we're done. So let's all go back to work, be safe. We came here safe. Let's all go home safe. Well, one day we had a whole lot of issues to cover first thing in the morning. And I failed at the end to actually give that pep talk. I said, okay, we're done. Let's go ahead and get back to work. And one of my team members looked at me and said, what, you don't love us anymore? I looked at him, I said, love you? What are you talking about? And I said, well, where's the pep talk? Where's the, you take care of me, I take care of you. And I just smiled because I just realized at that moment that they'd been listening to every word I said. And because I repeated it day in and day out, the first time I failed to mention it, they brought it to my attention. And that was real good because I knew that they were listening and I knew that they were concerned with hearing that become a routine. And once you break that routine, they flagged it out. So that was pretty great to experience that.
And I love that because to me, that symbolizes how easy it can be just to communicate with somebody and be consistent, and they are sponging everything that you're saying, right? One,
Right.
you're a great leader. It shows you're a great leader. Two, that they trust you, because I feel as an employee in big manufacturings, right? Our home base is in Northwest Arkansas. We have all the way from freezer plants where it's, zero below 000 to keep, poultry and inventory for other warehouses, inventory around here. We have poultry plants, we have turkey plants, we have steel, manufacturing. Well, I would have been blessed to be able to tour all of them once upon a time in my journey in my career path. But I know how important it is to have an employee that trusts you, right? And if you say, as an employer, this is how we're going to do things, as me being a new hire, you're going to listen to them because as someone who has had to struggle and pray and keep every part of their body parts crossed to hope that they even get the opportunity, they don't want to mess that up, do they, Victor?
No, no. And think about this. When people are consciously aware of safety and the importance of it, and you bring it to them in a personal matter, in that the safety, we're concerned about them and their families. And so when we conduct safety training, we actually ask them at home, what are your safety practices at home? Do you have a fire extinguisher? Do you have an exit plan? Do you have a area where if you had to vacate your home, where every family member has to meet somewhere? Now, these are common practices in industry, but when we're teaching the classes, we like to really take it home and have them analyze their safety protocols at home. And
And
that
so
really resonates with the students.
So let's talk about what should a student expect? Like, say I'm new and I'm all excited. My employer said we got this opportunity. first of all, I know that we're offering several certifications in the manufacturer, but let's talk about those basics that have to really focus on the OSHA safety, since this is what the theme is for this conversation. So let me share with me. I know that it's an online, which is an awesome thing because once again, we're breaking those barriers. You don't need transportation. You don't need daycare. I mean, you might need to lock yourself in a room if you have 5 or 6 little kids under the elementary age, right? That won't leave you alone as a mom or as a dad. And also, it's female. I mean, female or male. There's nothing that says you have to be a male in order to participate in any kind of manufacturing training. And I say that because we forget, but for women, myself, I've been so much in the workforce, business, corporate world, structure that when you think of manufacturing, my first thought is not a female leader. When I'm on my LinkedIn platform, yes, there's so many women manufacturer leaders out there. I met one about 2 years ago who resided from, I think, Canada, and now is leading a huge manufacturing corporation in Texas. But it takes the initiative, right? You have
Right.
to be the one that says, hey, I think we need this. And so for a newbie coming in to be added into, these are the modules that you have to cover, or this is a perk of us hiring you on, a bonus, because we've hired you on top of us hiring you on, we're offering you the certification. So tell me, as a
Right.
newbie, what would I expect?
So we promote and actively teach the manufacturing skills standard certified production technician, which is a DOL approved pre-apprenticeship. It's approved in both English and in Spanish. Employers, whether you do it in English or in Spanish, recognize the certification because it's based on completing an assessment that says you completely understand and can implement safety protocols at work. And so it doesn't really matter what language you learn it in, as long as you learn it and can prove that you understand it. And so this certified production technician, a pre-apprenticeship, leads students further into a Department of Labor full apprenticeship program, which is the industrial manufacturing technician and industrial manufacturing maintenance technician. And so let me do a quick screen share for you real quick here, and I'll
And
give you
yeah,
an idea.
and as Victor is talking and getting his screen up to share, the pre-apprentice is something that I'm so excited about because Victor just doesn't know just yet. And maybe I'm letting the cat out the bag today, but pre-apprentice guidelines changed this year for our DOL. In March, the new guidelines came out that literally said that a pre-apprentice needs to be sponsored by an apprenticeship program, which AHA is registered all over the US. We have office management, administration, and office cybersecurity underneath our belt as well. And so for us to be able to help Victor and partner up and collaborate himself as a provider and myself in a pre-apprentice module is great because the new DOL standards say, me and Victor both are small business. And sometimes for us to initiate any kind of training, our hiccup is the funding because the DOL structured umbrella says that you have to have an employer who takes care of the on-the-job training and is required to basically manage that employee as well as pay them. And then you have your employer and your no you have your employer, and then you have your provider, and then you have your apprenticeship program as well. And so for us to be able to coordinate and say, hey, keep your eyes out because come fall we're going to launch a pre-apprentice program is awesome because it helps us help us allow to help our community without having to wait for an employer sponsor. The employer sponsor for us is in the bigger picture, but a lot of the things Victor will talk about can definitely be, will be ready to go, hopefully come this fall as a pre-apprentice program as well. All right, Victor, go ahead.
Sure. So hopefully you can see the screen. I have a whole complete set of different PowerPoints that are representative of the Manufacturing Skills Standards curriculum. We teach it both in English and in Spanish. We've done work with different corporations. One of the biggest projects we had was Northern Indiana with RV Industry, Lippert Corporation, where about 47% of their employee base are Spanish speakers. And so we piloted the program with them. It was an absolute success. Not only did we accomplish doing the pre-apprenticeship with the CPT certification, but we actually did the IMT, Industrial Manufacturing Technician Apprenticeship Program. And we also used the Skill Boss. Skill Boss is a mini Megatronics machine produced by Amatrol in Southern Indiana. It's a product of the Manufacturing Skill Standards. It has 60 core skill sets that are demonstrated physically by hands and utilizing the machine. It's a pneumatic mini Megatronics machine. And so we covered all these topics here. So if I could just bring one of them here, workplace information. So for us to be able to communicate workplace information in dual languages is really important to us, because for people to understand and be really effective at work, they need to understand the core skill sets that are required. And one of those is the standard operating procedures. You know, do the employees really receive that information? And then we're talking about workplace behavior. Do you know how to conduct yourself at work? Do you know how to implement treatment of others and things like that? Then there's when we're talking about safety, the emergency action plan. What happens in case of an emergency? What are the protocols? Utilizing safety data sheets. We have an excellent exercise where when we're teaching classes at a location, workplace location, we ask the employees to go out and identify a product that they're using, whether it's a glue, oil base, or some kind of solvent. Get the name of that product, go to the SDS sheet, open it up, find that particular product they're using, take a picture of it, of the page, because you can't pull it out of the book, and then come back to class and share it with the rest of the students. That's a really good exercise. OSHA 10 training, we do OSHA 10 training as part of the apprenticeship program. That's really important as well. And then the quality manual. So what is it that we focus on when we're talking about the quality manual? We're talking about voice of the customer. The end result is, are we providing a quality product to the customer? And then how do we identify who really is our customer? Is that our external customer, or is it our internal customer? And most of the time, it's going to be the internal customer. Rarely does, in a manufacturing environment, do you get to meet the external customer. And that's the person who actually pays for the product. Internal customers, there's no exchange of money. They're your department A to department B, and so forth and so forth. So we cover all of this, and we do these both in English and in Spanish, and to make sure that the individuals who are working, who are English language learners, can understand this in their native language and act on what they've learned as they're learning the language. And we like to say we want them to learn the language of work. So all of this helps us help them understand what they need to know at work, and then make sure that they understand and learn this in the English language, so they can really excel and get promoted as they move forward in their employment.
And
We
like
also
Vic,
talk. Go ahead.
and like Victor said, I think what attracted me to the collaboration with Victor is when he shared with me what is covered in the pre-apprentice track, right? Because not everyone is going to qualify to come in. You have to have a certain reading level. You have to be able to at least demonstrate that, right? And in the pre-apprenticeship program, we hope to be able to empower those individuals that want to move forward and get them to a point where they can move in to the apprenticeship program. But for us to say we're teaching it in a dual language in Spanish, sometimes employers think, oh, they're just, speaking their language, everyday kind of communication, and we don't really know what's happening in this training. Well, know that this is a government approved training that we have told the government we're teaching what we call work-based dual language training, not just a dual language where we're going to go back and forth with you in your native language because you're talking to me about your day or you want to learn how to order because you're going on vacation. None of that really happens. It's really focused on the manufacturing goal and what we need to accomplish during that training. And since it's approved already through the government, we don't we can't edit. In order to edit any kind of curriculum that has been pre-approved, you have to go through format, right? And I know I don't have time to be trying to reinvent the wheel, and I know Victor does not have time to reinvent the wheel as well. Really quick, hey Chris, thank you so much for joining. Anytime you have any questions, just raise your hand or unmute yourself. Feel free.
Another topic we like to cover is lockout tagout. And so what's important here is that workers understand what we call dangerous energy. And how does that work? And in this particular case, we're talking about electrical dangerous energy. So if they're required to do, let's say, a tool changeover on a machine or basic maintenance on the machine, they may have to turn the machine and turn it off so that they can open up a panel or get inside the machine. So there's certain steps that are required according to Osha to follow through, and that would be turn off the machine, turn off the control panel, turn off the main breaker panel, and then the last step, come back to the machine and hit the start button. If you did all your procedures correctly, that machine will not start. When I was in apprenticeship, anybody who failed to do this very last step, we called them a dead person walking. And that's because the danger level of not coming back and testing the machine to make sure that you did a proper lockout tagout is very important. So for us, identifying dangerous energy. So what is dangerous energy? Any of these categories where you've got water under pressure, steam, real hot, pneumatic air, your air hoses, hydraulic fluids, any mechanical or gases, and learning how to not only kill the machine for the electrical operation of it, but also remove the dangerous energy source. And so people understand this once you're communicating that to them effectively. And I think we do a very good job because the Manufacturing Skills Standards Council has.
Victor, really,
Go ahead.
really quick before you moved off of that last slide there that you had with all of those energy points that people need to know. I can tell you, limited English people might know the drawing, might know the symbol, know that it's dangerous, but they don't know what it is. They don't know, like for instance, they know like natural gas, that picture there, that's dangerous. It's red around it, it's a flame, but they don't know exactly what they're looking for. And unfortunately, in a lot of trainings, you sit in a group, someone from office admin comes in, gives you a lot of paperwork, you sit there and they go through the tag in, tag out, how what to do, and then they have pictures. And unfortunately, it's all sometimes in English. And then the person that's sitting by the person that's supposed to be their interpreter is not fully proficient in the language, nor are they proficient in the education topic. So what are they doing? They're summarizing to their friend, oh yeah, they said to do X, Y, and Z. Oh yeah, they're talking about water. Oh yeah, they might be talking about gas or orders, but they don't know, right? And then at the end, they're required to say, yep, we understand, and we got to sign it, because if we don't sign it, what happens, Victor? What happens if you can't pass the simple trainings in your job? What happens in reality?
Well, there's a lot of workplace injuries that happen because due a lack of safety training. Here's one thing. Remember, I said earlier that I consider OSHA as the enforcement arm of workplace safety. So to me, they're the hammer. The hammer is always looking for the nail. The nail is the lack of training, the non-compliance to safety regulations. And so if OSHA comes in and identifies that there's not compliance at the workplace, they're going to come and hit you hard. And they have the ability to shut a corporation down, literally. Another thing for us is safety data sheets, how to read a safety data sheet. How does it work? What are the pictograms, these pictures here? What are these for? What does it mean? What are these color codings for? And a good example is we take it home. We talk about bleach and ammonia. There's a toxicity when you mix these two together. It becomes a toxic gas, and it will literally take your breath away. So
Yes.
we make sure the students understand the level between mixing and
Yeah,
toxicity
and let
levels.
me add a little quick story before I let Chris raise his hand and has a question. So in Northwest Arkansas, we're huge in poultry plants. These are two main chemicals that are used constantly, daily for many different reasons. And because of an error of communication, these were mixed up along with other chemicals, and talk about scare of a plant and people running out and having to shut down. It happens. And all because that person did not clearly understand. There was a lack of communication in their language, and they had to pay the price. Production had to stop. No line manufacturing loves to stop the line. That's a big no-no, especially if you're a 24-hour manufacturing. Every second that belt stops, you're losing revenue. You might rather lose um, your workers than revenues, which is why we're really out here sharing this message as well. But it happens. I know it happened a couple of years here in Northwest Arkansas. Wasn't pretty. There was a lot of people that were injured. Eyes burning, skin, especially the ones that were right there when it all happened. Lung damage, the whole 9 yards. So it can be a really toxic situation. Hey, Chris, what's your question?
Well, good morning, Iliana. I'm glad to be here this morning on Transformational Thursday. I love what you're taking this dynamic into, and I've been in the warehouse space and industrial space for many years, and plus also I've been a trainer too as well. But let me ask this to each and every single one of you today. Maybe this is something that we can really connect with people in and of itself. Um, Maybe it is literally finding the way that can connect us in a true, authentic way. And maybe we could take something away from Disney. And here's the reason why I'm saying Disney. With Disney, what they have done in a lot of their theme parks and even in trainings too, as well, because I was even wanting to work at Disney, is they actually have a headset tool that can actually translate what you say to the people that you're training. Maybe that's some way that we can do it from a true connective space, that whether to be a handheld and they actually go through you with the checklist with you and that kind of thing, that when you actually are teaching that very program when it comes to material data safety sheets, doing an evacuation plan, whatever the case may be, they can actually be in lockstep with you to such a degree that the loss of translation will kind of be so minimal to such an extent that they not only know what they know, but they will get it, because then again, you don't have that big gap when you're training those people. Because granted, if you put somebody in a cubicle to actually go over that in their native language, whether it be they're from Sweden or they're from Mexico and that's their native language or whatever the case may be. But maybe if we can get up to the times and really be truly interactive in that very training. And it doesn't necessarily have to come to the lockout, tag out, or safety training. It can literally be just training across the board. And I truly believe that would be a better way to get everything done in a kind of like, I won't say one size fits all, but maybe could do that from a true communicator standpoint, because again, everyone's going to have a question without a shadow of a doubt. But if we can minimize that and get to that such an extent that where they can be able to say, hey, I have this offline question, can I take that with you, and everything like that, and then still with your translator in hand can be able to really quantify that and say, what do you think about this, and what do you think about that? I truly believe that will be a benefit across the board, no matter what business we have in and of itself. What say you all?
Yeah, I agree with you. AI technology is going to take us there. I'm not familiar with the Disney program, but I would like to figure out what are they using? What product are they using? If you get an idea of what that is, Chris, share it with us.
Well, I'll give you a prime example. When you go into any theme park, their headsets are interconnected to whatever technology they're using. It's like when you go to the park in Disney to where it has the little Nemo ride and everything like that, and there's this big screen with Nemo and the turtle, and they're doing that interaction. The guys who are actually behind the scenes, actually talking to them, are actually on a microphone, and they have an embedded kind of set of things that can literally take the voice of those very characters and translate them into actual live speech and everything like that. And Disney has done that technology, I want to say, maybe in the past maybe 10 years or so, but they've been at the forefront, especially in the animatronic worlds, for decades and everything like that. So when you really think about it, in every Disney park, they have to actually take the lay of the land of the native culture. They do everything in Disneyland Paris in French, but they also recognize that there's going to people be from Chinese, there's going to be people from other places, and I guarantee you they've had those programs in place to where they're training from people maybe from all around the world, that they can be able to do that and everything like that. And the reason why that technology is now getting so prevalent, especially in the warehousing industry now, literally if you're picking a product to be put on the truck to be sent out for a delivery, there's a voice activated system that tells you where to go, how high is it, and how much you have to pick and everything like that. And I guarantee you, without a shadow of a doubt, they can actually flip that maybe to their native language. Maybe they've not gotten there yet, but I'm sure that technology will be in the pipeline, so to speak. But I truly believe that will be a great way to not only train, but also train our trainers, train our leaders, and everything in between, because we want that level set communication across the board. Because again, I want to be able to see or even understand what you see and understand. And then in turn, I want you to do the same thing with me. Granted, we might be on different kind of ocean kind of side dynamics, to where you might be speaking French, but yeah, I'm speaking English here. But how do we connect that? And I truly believe if we can get to that place, then we can not only, again, be better prepared for our evacuations and do lockout, tag out, but also even from the day-to-day trainings of getting people onboarded and everything like that. Because again, we want to meet them where they're at. And if we can do that, literally one step at a time, one conversation at a time, that's going to be proof positive that we're actually taking the initiative to really understand the people that want to work with us, not for us, but with us. And when we do that, we have a better way to not only level their expectations for us, but then in turn, we can level a set our expectations with them, to where they can be able to say, let's meet together on this kind of plane and this kind of goal. And if we can do that, then it will be so much easier to be able to not only get the people to know what they know and how they can know it, but do it in a place that is really simple to understand. If you get everything back to a place of simplicity, that's when we're going to all hit it big in and of itself.
I
Correct.
and I have to, agree. Technology, AI is not going anywhere. I have colleagues that say AI is not going to take your job. It's because you're not trained on AI, right? And so what the trend is that, the government has used those earphones to provide simultaneous interpretation services for years, right? That's what you see the big board rooms filled in people from all over the countries in the world have their earphones because there's someone back in their stage who's interpreting them live. In the sense of Disney, they're using recorded modules that are probably connected electronically. So either when you come close to them, it senses that you're there, or you might use to scan and then for that to start. I definitely can see that being utilized in the manufacturing, but I think, but as we all know, it's an investment. It's an investment, not, unfortunately, this kind of initiative doesn't open opportunities quickly because we're gearing it towards those that are limited English. And unfortunately, a lot of budgets aren't there to provide training or specific services to their limited Englishes. So, us being able to really share that this is a dual language training, meaning if you have Joe Sam that speaks English and Joe Smith that only speaks Spanish, that they can train at the same time and
Mm-hmm.
end up getting that certification at the end. But yes, AI, is changing the way training is why we're successful on an online platform, why Victor has been able to, have colleges utilize the curriculum because it's an online portion. But being creative and innovative in the world of training, definitely, Chris, is the way to go, as well. Staying on top of what we know is more beneficial to a lot of leaders. Sometimes it's hard to kind of make them believe that, hey, this is going to save you a lot of money at the end. And all we can do is have meetings like this where we can share our initiatives and what we're doing in that. But yes, it is Disney's always been innovative on everything they do. They're
Well, they
Disney.
have, they have. And when you really think about it, Iliana, and you probably have seen this in a lot of the calls that I've conducted, I truly believe that the best investment is the human investment, and we can't even put a price tag on that. So maybe when we take the money mindset dynamic and kind of put that to the side and say, you know what is really going to be valuable here? It's going to be the very value of those people who not only need to know what they should know, but we're going to value them because we want to invest in them to such a degree that not only will be a benefit to them, it's going to be a benefit to me, but maybe even to the people who don't even know that they're doing what they're doing. And we're putting that name onto them of what they are doing, especially if you're putting things on a truck and you got to be able to make sure that everything's tagged correctly and make sure all the signage is right and all that kind of stuff. Their name is going to be put on that. But then again, if they don't know what they don't know, and then they put that stuff on a truck and it's not tagged right, and it goes off the dock, and then next thing you know, they get pulled over by DOT, and they're going to say, "Hey, we have to write you up for a fine here because you don't have everything done right from a safety and hazardous material kind of dynamic." But that will be again a proof positive that where everyone knows what everyone else knows what they're doing, because you want even not only the drivers know what they know, but they also want to be able to know when they load that truck that everything's right where it needs to be, and everyone who only not only loads that truck but understands when the people are pulling that product and putting it in to be sorted and be allocated and put on that pallet to be sent on that truck, then they know that they're doing that thing. It's almost like when I learned from Amazon. In Amazon, what they say is they don't want to have any problem going up and down the chain. So when you see a problem, you fix it right then and there and you address it and you take it that way. And if you can do that, even in the training that we provide, even from a dynamic dual language standpoint, then they can be able to say without a shadow of a doubt, I have this problem. Yet granted, you may not have, let's say, your translator with you, but maybe they have theirs. and they can be able to tell you exactly what's going on, of what's being loaded on this truck that should have been loaded, or this lockout tagout didn't get done correctly because Bob Smith didn't do it right, or whatever the case may be. But if you get that to where it's literally universal in scope, and again, going back to the place of simplicity, then everybody will know what everyone else is doing. Granted, you may not know everything of what department does, from department B does and everything like that. But if you have that level set of communication across the board, that where from a general setting kind of dynamic and standpoint, then you will actually understand, hey, this is what Iliana is doing. This is what Chris is doing. This is what Bob is doing. And then once you have that in context, especially of the training of what we know, not only of training the trainers, but also training the leaders, and then it goes up and down the chain, then next thing you know, when it comes to that end result for that, not only the internal customer, which is our very partners in our businesses, not employees, because that's a different dynamic. But when it gets to the clients and gets to their doorstep, and they call up to you and say, hey, I received my shipment, it was so well done, I can't believe what was done here. That is going to be proof positive on not only knowing what you know, but you can literally execute on the things that you're going to execute. Because again, if you can under promise and over deliver each and every single time for the outcomes that you seek, then people will be more inclined to not only work with you, but they can say, hey, we can drive more business with you and everything like that. I truly believe, again, Eliana, you heard me say this many times, everything is interconnected, everything else is all there.
Yeah, we call that the delight of the customer, when you can underestimate and over deliver. Chris, our program is online, 100% online. It's interactive. I'm only showing you the PowerPoints, the contents that we teach.
All right, very good.
But all of it's online. It's interactive. There's video content that the students could do. There's pre-exam, post-exams, and then at the end of each, there's 4 modules. There's safety, quality, manufacturing processes, and maintenance awareness. At the end of each unit, they actually get proctored by NOCTI. Are you familiar with NOCTI?
Okay.
Okay, so
very good.
Yeah, NOCTI's third-party proctoring service, and they actually assess the students and make sure that their person who's taking the exam is the person who is supposed to be taking the exam.
And the good part about our collaboration is we're sprinkling in those soft skill training
Yes.
as well. And so, you cannot talk about helping a workforce or an employer without talking about soft skills. And so, we're excited about this opportunity. Safety is huge, right? We are here to share what it is that we know has been supported through the government channel, and we have an opportunity to change our dynamics to those organizations that need our help, right? We know there's organizations that say they have it down. Kudos for you. But we also know there's a lot of organizations that struggle with retention. And it's not because they can't find those workers that are willing to sit there and work 18, 20 hours a day. It's because of the safety environments. They overlook them. So, not making big changes all at one time, but really just opening up that opportunity of discussion, of really being aware of maybe if we do this little change, it will roll out to a bigger effect of safety, right?
Absolutely.
No one wants to go into a work environment and be fear mentally, which that affects your health, going to work feeling scared that something is going to happen, or simple, a knife. I keep using a knife and they won't sharpen it. It's not sharp enough. I'm having to tug. I've already cut my fingers once or twice. I know that I'm going back, and I know they're not sharpening my utensils. Little things of those natures are are changing for the employer satisfaction, but also for that employee to feel that they are doing their best they can. And unfortunately, that's the real world we're in. Manufacturers need individuals who can work and work hard and be dedicated. But OSHA is there. OSHA is there looking at what you're doing. You know, if you have a great relationship with OSHA, kudos to you. But the realization is OSHA comes and finds these manufacturers a lot of money all the time. And these manufacturers make the money, and so they pay it all the time. So it's kind of like a circle, right? One is
It's a
funding
revolving circle, absolutely.
one is funding the other. And what we're trying to do is hopefully kind of get some of that funding pointed into the way of training our employees directly, and especially those that need it. And so being able to roll out a pre-apprentice platform to start out to see what kind of interest we get is exciting. But at the same time, you know, we're hosting events like this to have organizations and share what it is that we're doing, to have people like you, Chris and Freddie, share what he's learned, and maybe at a cup of coffee, maybe in an unexpected conversation where you're sitting and someone says, "Hey, I think I might need some training." Or, "Hey, guess what? I heard that." Or, "Let's hook up with Iliana or Victor. They'll be able to direct you on where you have to be." So it is definitely a passion to break the barriers out there of training. And this just adds on to our portfolio of services that we have underneath AHA's umbrella. Of course, Victor has been doing this for a long, long time. And as I started this conversation, I'm blessed to have him fall literally from the sky on a chat. And here we are hosting our first National OSHA event because Victor said, "Hey, this is an opportunity. Do you want to do it? Hey, let's rock and roll. Why not?" Right? If I'm event hosting other initiatives, this one kind of meets our journey as well. So, Victor, is there anything else that you want to add on? Or Freddie, is there any questions or you want to come off mute and ask any questions? Please do so.
For us right now, we're taking this to another level with immersive learning, VR learning. We're working with Transfer VR. I had the opportunity to work with them on the Heroes Make America program, where we were training discharged veterans from the military who are coming into the world of work again. So I called it the Deployment to Employment program. And so we used the CPT program in English version, fully online, and then we used the Transfer VR immersive learning, where they put the headsets on. And so I was the lead instructor for that program, that pilot program. It lasted about a year and a half, and now it's fully active. So it's across multiple U.S. military bases. It's active in Europe and in Asia. So our military personnel who are finishing their call up to duty now can receive 100% online training with virtual training. And so their program now is Transfer VR is translating their entire program into Spanish. So we'll be utilizing immersive learning. And so that kind of helps, especially when we're talking about safety, it helps them demonstrate in a virtual environment how to actually do a lockout tagout, how to use a fire extinguisher, how to identify the appropriate PPE that you should be wearing for the specific task that you're doing. And they also have warehousing modules for that too, where you've got forklifts moving all around the warehouse, and you have to load a truck. And before you load the truck, you have to be able to identify, or if you're unloading it, identify the placards that are on the truck and what are the hazards associated with those placards. So, and then be able to understand the shipping manifest, because that's one of the things you mentioned earlier, Chris. When the DOT pulls you over, the first thing they ask you is, "Let me see that your shipping manifest." And if you're not appropriate with that shipping manifest and your placards are not consistent with what you're shipping, you're in trouble as a driver. So all those things we're employing. And once again, these are all Department of Labor approved programs, pre-apprenticeships, apprenticeship programs. And so I'm blessed to be able to have led a lot of these pilot programs for the initial translation, working with the U.S. military, And now, given the opportunity to work with you, Iliana and AHA, for that soft skills training, because for us, you have to be at a 12th grade reading level. And so is that a deal breaker? If you're not, no, because now we have you and you can provide those soft skills training to bring those individuals up to the level that they need to be to enter into these pre-apprenticeship programs and apprenticeship
Yeah.
programs.
And and we work
Those are the
hard.
mechanics
Yeah.
that really worked well together.
And and been working hard behind the scenes, the VR adventure. I've placed them on myself. I've adventured. I couldn't even go up before a lift myself. Like I had a hard time pointing those. So for me to stay innovative when we have partnering in Missouri who said, "Hey, when you're ready, we're ready to go." Of course, we're going to start a pre-apprentice in the state of Missouri because we already have the connections on what we need to do. So staying innovative is key to the success. I'm blessed once again to have Victor on our platform and allow me to be part of his journey. And like I said, him really becoming my mentor as well. And I'm going to leave you with a little story before we get off. I got 3 minutes before 10 o'clock. And as everyone else's schedule is busy, so is mine. No sooner I get off of this one, I have a language assessment as well. But, safety can mean little things, and I shared the story with Victor a couple of days ago or last week sometime. Working as a lead medical interpreter for a hospital allowed me to see, learn a lot, and working in trauma and death and dying was my area of specialty. And I'll never forget when we had a gentleman who we got called, they called from ICU, from ER, called me from my bed around 3 o'clock in the morning, said, "We need you here stat." I go to the hospital, I walk in, and the whole ER floor is just flooded with blood. This whole person was flooded from head to toe with blood, right? At that point, I was good at what I did, took a deep breath, jumped in there, and end up to come to find out that this gentleman was a warehouse worker, one of those workers that we all know that has to have a job because he needs to provide for his family. And protocol is that they leave these plastic boots in their locker every day. They're required to wear plastic boots because of sanitary reasons, right? A lot of these folks miss that message and take these home. Well, your feet become soggy at the end of the day. And unfortunately, this crew was getting picked up by a van that transports them back and forth to their employment location as part of the employer perk. If you don't have transportation, we'll get you there. We need you to come to work. And unfortunately, in Northwest Arkansas, they have a lot of windy roads in the middle of mountains to get from one little city to get to another little county where a lot of our limited English workers live. And for whatever reason, the same night, same routine this gentleman had, would get out of his job. They all would pack into the van, roll down the window, look at the stars, talk, chat. He took his boot off and decided to do what anyone else would do, put your feet outside of the window and let that fresh air blow through your toes. He was living the best life, but what he didn't realize was in front of him was going to be a major accident where the driver detoured and smushed into a big tree and severed his leg off. All because of that one little mistake that no one reminded him, "Hey, Mr. Manuel," that wasn't his name, but just an example, "you need to leave your boots here." And so that is the story that I will leave you with as your thought on why I am in this journey to change lives. It's not just because we're in this to be rich, because workforce initiatives do not make you rich. For me, it's about the humanity, the making a change in human lives, and not just for the employer, but the community, the household, and then those, perks roll out to the bigger picture to embrace our full community and our world of workforce. So, Victor, I appreciate your time. It is always my pleasure to meet with you as well. Chris, thank you so much. Freddie, so much. Anything that we can do, I am here. Although we got a lot of followers on LinkedIn, I connect with my followers. If you message me, I will connect with you and even give you my email. So there's no question, I think, as a dumb question. It's just a question that has not been asked before. So, Victor, anything else you want to leave before we close it out?
No, thank you for the opportunity to talk about safety at work. And let's continue to amplify our message.
I agree. And everyone stay tuned for that pre-apprentice that will roll out, and it's online. So you don't necessarily have to live there in order to participate in the pre-apprentice adventure we'll have. And that will be free because we don't charge for pre-apprentice programs training as well. So, all right, you guys, thank you so much. We appreciate you guys. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right, Victor. Good job. Good job. What do you think?
Yeah, it was good.
I think it was good. A good way to kind of start. I will edit. Um